Hi there, this is Frugal, and if it's your first time here, then welcome and thank you for clicking watch. And for people who watch my videos regularly, welcome back and thank you so much for being here. So in this wee channel, I'm sharing my frugal journey, currently on a no and low spend year. So this is minimal spend March. So 2 seconds. Still waking up a bit here. So today I thought I would show you my 12-step process that I use when I'm meal planning. So meal planning can be such a valuable tool for food budgeting. Hang on a second. This is Bella. She's my wee cheeky rascal. She's going to come and sit beside me here, aren't you, sweetie? Good girl. So, yeah, where was I now? Food budgeting. Yeah, I feel like distraction averted. I had to move that bag. Oh, and thank you, Carol, for that lovely jar of mango chutney that's in the bag. That was a kind gift from my friend that I visited yesterday. Really appreciated that. So yes, anyway, sorry for the interruptions, but when you've got a cheeky Bella, these things happen. So as I was saying, meal planning is such a valuable tool for eating on a budget, eating on a tight budget for me this month, and making the budget stretch as far as possible. Yeah, organisation is key. And if you are meal planning, then you know where you stand. You know what you need. You know what, roughly how you're going to plan preparing your meals each night of the week. And in my case, I try and do as much as I can in one go. Pardon me. And then I don't have to spend lots of time slaving over a stove. I would rather try and do a lot of stuff in bulk and batch cook, and then have some nights with really simple meals that don't really require much work, and other nights I then can have something that I spent more time on before but just have to heat up. One pot dishes are great and they're an easy way to keep things simple and help budget as well. But anyway, back to specifically meal planning in this video. I wanted to share the 12 steps that I use when I'm meal planning, because for the longest time I wanted to meal plan. I thought, oh yeah, great idea, you know, that'll help me save money, oh, I'm going to do it. And then actually putting it into practice never used to really work, because I would either just kind of start and then not follow through, or I wouldn't stick to the meal plan because they were meals that I wasn't really very excited to have. Well, not excited, that's maybe not the word, but you got to eat stuff that you like. Like, you could dream up this meal plan where you're going to make a different dish every night, or you're going to eat all these things that you would never normally eat and don't really like, but are telling yourself you should eat these things. And I think, well, for me personally, if I've done that, very quickly I run out of steam. It's got to be sustainable. It's got to be manageable, because we're busy people, you know. A lot of us were juggling work, or we're juggling family commitments, or caring responsibilities, or studies. Long story short, there's always some other thing going on. So having the time, you know, like most people would not have a huge amount of time to think about and do this on a daily basis. It's really kind of, what can people have getting home from work, or getting home after being out on a busy day or whatever, and being able to just get on and do something, and not having to lose time and energy thinking, oh, what will we have, what's in the cupboard, oh, and then having to run out to the shop. And I know for me personally, when I've sort of live day to day like that, and I'm not really sure what I'm doing on a daily basis, and I just kind of figure it out as I go along and then go out to the shops. Not only do I end up draining a lot of time that I could be using for other stuff that I really love to do with my time, but I end up draining money by accident as well, because each of these little extra trips, I'm all tongue-tied. This is what happens to me when I'm still to have my full caffeine quota. I can be a bit sleepy and tongue-tied, so apologies. Yeah, multiple wee trips to the shop I find end up being a bigger drain on my wallet, because then I'm seeing temptations, I'm not really thinking, and then I end up wasting more food as well. So it's just a real pity for that to be the case. But as I say, meal planning, it's just such a brilliant strategy. I think it is the number one, batch cooking and meal planning are my two top strategies for saving money on a budget. So without further ado, oh, and just to say as well, so I used to also procrastinate from doing meal planning because it felt like it was going to be too much work to set up each month. But I've now got a system, and it's a bit more of a well-oiled machine these days. So I feel I can stick to it a lot better. And I know what I'm trying to do and why and how. And that really helps. So it's really sped up the process. And I just stick on some great music, or I stick on an anime that I like in the background or something. And, or I'll listen to a podcast in the background or something. It doesn't really take that long. And when you get used to it and you get into the habit of doing these 12 steps and they become familiar, it streamlines the process and it doesn't take up that much time. But what it does is it gives you back so much time. It saves a lot of mental energy. It saves a lot of hassle, as I say, of going back and forward unnecessarily to shops. You can just plan your shopping around what you're going to need later in the process. So you might not really need to go to the shops all that much. And then, as I say, it reduces temptation. So it gives you back your time, your energy, and also it helps you save money, which is the big thing when we're trying to be frugal. So yeah, without further ado, let's have a look, and I'll start to show you my 12 steps that I find really helpful. These might not be the same for everyone, we're all different. But if there's steps that you don't think are that helpful, fair enough. But hopefully you can take some stuff out of these steps that you'll find helpful and useful. Maybe you won't do it quite the same way that I do, or maybe you'll do things in a kind of different order. But this is the way I go about it. And as I say, if it's helpful to anyone out there, then I'm really chuffed about that. And it's lovely to be able to have the opportunity to share these ideas. Because I know for me, with being frugal, when I learn from others, there are so many great channels out there. When I learn from others, that is my favourite way of learning and growing on my frugal journey. So let's get to it. So to me, steps 1 and 2 go hand in hand, but the first part is check your stock. So go through everything that you have in your fridge and go through everything in your freezer. Now the freezer, I find it takes a lot longer, but that's when I discover some real hidden gems, because there can be so many things in the back of that freezer that you've completely forgotten about that would be a really handy ingredient, or that you would have otherwise bought, but then you realise you've already got it. I find it easiest normally to have on the top and bottom shelf, I have my tubs where I've already got meals I've made in the past. And then I have a fruit drawer and a veggies drawer. And then I tend to keep protein, fit it wherever there's space on these shelves. And then when I do baking, I put my baking in here. But I haven't actually put that in my inventory because I tend to save the baking for when I just feel like I really need something for a little boost. I do need to use that stuff up soon because it's not very fresh now. And, you know, like, again, somewhere on one of these shelves, when I can, I'll squeeze in things like, I separate my butter out when I buy it and that kind of thing. So that's like, or things like coconut milk or compote when I make compote from the allotment. So anyway, whatever system works for you, but having a way of storing your things so that you know roughly what's in each zone of your freezer and your fridge too, helps to, if you need to just have a quick recce and see what there is. But it's good every now and then to just pull everything out and do a full stock take. And then what I tend to do is as I go along looking at things, I'll write them down, and then I'll either use that list or I'll write them out fresh and create an inventory, but more on that in a minute. So your main areas to check are your, hello sweetheart, good girl, are your fridge, your freezer, and your food cupboards. So my food cupboards, I've got one that's got a load of tins and stuff. I've got Bella's cupboard, and she knows that's her cupboard. And then I have a zone where I keep, well, this is actually, I need to tidy up a bit in here. This is where I keep my carby things down the bottom, and that should actually be down there because that's the flour. And then kind of dried foods, either dried fruit or nuts and seeds and things like lentils and that kind of stuff goes in there. And then I've got kind of baking supplies and oops, things like condiments all in there. So that's a wee tour. Oh, and then I've got in this cupboard, I'm trying to force myself to use this up this month. I haven't yet, but I'm going to. It's horrible, but it's unopened and it's a shame to waste it. And if it helps me lose some weight, then that's good. And then this is like tea and coffee supplies. So, yeah. Anyway, so go through your cupboards and your fridge and your freezer, or plural if you've got lots, because if you've got a family, you might have lots of freezer space, like a big chest freezer or something. So then what you can do is write down a list of everything you've got. So for me, to save time and energy and make it hassle-free, I'm actually doing a trial this time, where what I've done is I've created a master document on my computer, and I've broken it down into different categories, and I've listed everything for veggies. I haven't bothered to put quantities for the frozen. This is all frozen stuff. I don't need to be that specific because I've got an idea in my mind. I'll be going in and out of that freezer all the time, so I can keep track of that. And I know I've got enough for what I've planned. And then there's the list of the carbs, the protein. These are all the different building blocks for your meals. So having a clear picture of what you've actually got is a total godsend. And then I know that I've got these meals to use up this month. So I've scored out the things that I've already factored into the meal plan. So actually these are the things that are going to be left over at the end of the month. But anyway, and then I know these are some sweet things to use up, plus there's the stuff in that wee drawer. So, excuse me, I'm all sniffly. So what I'm trying this month is just printing out this, having a master template on my computer, because these are things that I have in my cupboards, fridge and freezer most of the time. And when I go shopping, I'll replace what's gone. So I can just make wee adjustments on a month-to-month basis on the computer as needed. There's no point having to retype the whole thing all over again. So having it on there and then just printing out one page each month with a quick, easy to look at overview of what my stock items are. This is what I'm trying this month because I think it will just help save some time and streamline things. But there's so many ways you could do it. You could digitize it. You could have like a note on your phone or something where you keep this info, or you could use an app. I don't know of any apps, but I'm sure there's plenty of apps. If you know of any, please share in the comments below. Also, what I used to do, this is the kind of rough version. In the past, I've used an old notebook and I've written stuff down, and then as I use it, I've just scored it out. That can be quite a good way. Another way that I've done it before is having a notebook where I wrote everything down and then in pencil wrote how much of each thing, so I could just rub it out as it was used. That's a good way too. And then another way is you could use, you could have something like this and then not write any amounts, but just have a list of the stuff you normally keep and then laminate it. And then you can then just use a whiteboard marker to write how many and score it out as you go along. And then you don't have to keep reproducing anything. It's really whatever's going to make it the most hassle-free is good. But when I did the notebook and the pencil thing, I listed literally everything, all the condiments and everything. And I used that system for about 1.5 years or 2 years, until really I'd rubbed the pages out so much that they started to tear. So I found that was a really great way, but you do what works for you anyway. So that's your stock take and inventory steps 1 and 2. What you can do now for step 3 is, if you get flyers through the door, or if you've got an app for your supermarket where they advertise the loss leaders, have a wee look and see what's on special deals for the week. So loss leaders are things like, for example, I shop in Lidl a lot, and as you leave Lidl, they have a paper version, or on the app there's also a version. And you can look and see loss leaders are the things that are special markdown items. So they'll reduce certain items from each type of thing they sell in the store. So they'll have some fruit and veggies, they've reduced some meats, dairy, sweets and treats, all kind of things. So you can look and see. And if there are things that stand out and you think, oh, I could plan some meals around that, then great, because that could help cut some costs as well. So what I usually do is, if I look at the loss leaders and there's things that I want to include in my meal planning, I'll write down what the items are here that I plan to buy from the supermarket, those loss leaders. But actually this month there aren't any, because I'm going to plan as much of the month as possible from exactly what I have at home right now. So step 4 then is dreaming up some dishes. So this is a list of all the dishes that I'm planning to make, the top half anyway. These are the things that I'll be making in March. What I do is I split it. So up here, this top half, these are all dishes that I can make using what I actually have at home right now without having to go and buy a thing. So that includes casserole, chili, ratatouille, lasagna, and bulgur wheat and couscous dishes, omelette, and a chips and sausages and beans dish. So I've just written down, looking at what I know I've got in my inventory, I've written down everything I think I can dream up at the moment using just those ingredients. And then down here, I've written down meals that I would like to make that I've got most of the ingredients for. So there's just one thing, or maybe if there's one or a couple of things that I need, or that you need for those. So these are things you could make, but you're just going to need to buy a few wee things to complete the ingredients list. So if you do that, then you could then separately list what you're going to need. And so for me, these are the ingredients I'm going to need at the end of the month. So I don't have to think about that for a few weeks. But I do know for breakfasts, I'm going to need, so I kind of tend to have 2 meals a day at the moment. So I know for those horrible slim fasts and for breakfasts, I'm going to definitely, and for coffee, I'm going to need more oat and soya milk. So I've just made a note of that now to keep me on track. But that comes in a later step, making your shopping list. But anyway, that's steps 3 and 4. Right, now we're getting into the meal planning nitty-gritty. So you could do this again on an app on your phone, or using the notes feature of your phone, or on your computer. You could have a calendar template that you print out and write on. You could use some kind of laminate board. I know Frugal Stu uses a laminate board. Shout out to you, Stu. And that's a great way to do it. And then you can just wipe the board clean each week and start over. So do what works for you. Weekly planners. So for me, I really like these wee sheets. I got some of these in the sale from TK Maxx ages ago. Eventually I ran out. And then I saw them for £1 a pad on Vinted. And the person had lots of really great gift things for sale. So I just bought a bundle. And I bought these in the bundle, so they were a total bargain. So anyway, I'm a kind of paper and pen gal. I'm a bit old school. So I like doing it this way. But do, as I say, do what works for you. So my priority is, what I do is I start by looking at the days I know I'm going to be really busy. So I might be working a shift, or I might have a lot of study plans for that day, or I might have social plans or family commitments or something. On the days I know that I'm going to be really busy, that's when I'll pull out a frozen meal in the morning, and I know I've got that for the night time just to have, and it's really easy. So I actually started from Saturday to Friday just to complicate things, but no, just because I was starting where I was at. So anyway, for example, today is a study day, and tomorrow I've got a hospital appointment and I'm seeing a friend. So I know I'm going to be very busy. So I've got frozen meals planned for those days. And then Thursday's going to be a study day and it's going to be very busy. So again, I've got a frozen thing just to make life easier. So first of all, I go through whatever my time period is. Usually it would be weekly or fortnightly. I've actually done a 4-week plan for this month to just help me keep on track and not need to pay any visit to the shops except to get that milk for the first 3 weeks, hopefully. That would be amazing. So anyway, I digress. Back to what I was saying. So first of all, look at your calendar, look at your schedule, see when all your busy times are. Put the easy meals in first. And then what I do is I look and I see when my quiet days are. Like, I don't know, at the moment I can spend a bit more time batch cooking because I'm still off from work with recovery from this broken arm situation. Getting there eventually, I'll be back. It's just taking ages. But anyway, what I do is, normally I would maybe have 1 day a week where I do batch cooking. So I'll look to see when my sort of batch cooking day is going to be. In this case, I'm going to do what's in a start. Oh no, hang on. No, that's not a batch cook. I've got this time I've done it. I've put stars where I'm cooking things from scratch. But this week, so I'm doing here, and then it's the top line, and then it becomes from Saturday, this line. So Saturday's going to be my day for batch cooking this week, and that's when I'm going to make my slow cooker meal here. And it's going to be hopefully 2 portions to freeze, and this is what stocks up the backup meals for the busy days, you see. And it's like, if I'm organised with it, it becomes a really good system. So that is step 5, is putting in the busy day meals and putting in the quiet day or your batch cook day. And then the following step is filling in the gaps. So I can't see a good example for this week, but oh yes, I can for the week after, because this is 2 weeks worth. So for the 13th, this is going to be an easy meal. I'm planning to I've already chopped these and frozen them. So it's just going to be a case, a bit like getting oven chips out the freezer. Just chuck those in the air fryer. And then I've got some veggie sausages, get them out of the freezer. That'll be really easy. And then have either baked beans or spaghetti hoops. So that's a really quick and easy meal to throw together. And yeah, so what I do is usually when I've slotted in my easy frozen meals and my batch cook days, each week there'll usually be a few gaps to fill in. So I'll look for meals that are easy to make and not too time consuming. So things like the chips and sausages and beans is a good one, or scrambled egg on toast or stuff like that. That's really easy. So I think I've got omelette one day. Yeah, there's omelette. That's just going to be a thing where I'm using up some stuff, so that it'll be omelette and maybe spaghetti hoops and peas, or maybe pita bread and baked beans. We'll see. But I don't have many of those kind of gap filling ones for this month because I'm still off sick. So I'm going to use the time to stock up my freezer with frozen meals and use up leftovers and stuff. But normally it would be a great opportunity to use up for quick meals, like things like egg on toast and stuff like that. It's an easy win and it's a cheap meal. It's a good frugal food choice. So the next 2 steps involve finishing off the shopping list. So doing the earlier steps, sometimes I start writing things down in a shopping list as I go, or otherwise I'll look back and see. So I know this is going to be a need. At the end of the month, these are going to be needs. So at the moment, they're still wants. So here's the list. This is wants so far. These are needs at the moment. At the end of the month, they'll become wants and I'll highlight them. These are wants at the moment. I don't need these things yet. I've got loads of soap to use up, so I don't have to get shower gel. I'll see if the budget allows for it. And if the budget allows for the wants, then they'll be good stock up items. I mean, these ones. And then these ones kind of like to buy in advance might be quite handy. So as I say, as you're going through and you're writing down your different meals, like for example, like if you were putting down egg on toast or something and filling in the gaps, you might have worked out when you're doing your stock take that you don't have enough bread for that many meals. So you could be writing down bread as you go, or eggs if you've only maybe got a couple of eggs left and you're going to make an omelette. So, you know, the list will kind of start to develop as you're going through those earlier steps anyway. But this is the point where you're just finishing off that list, going through your bathroom cupboards and your kitchen cupboards for cleaning stuff, and anything that you're needing, again, write it and highlight it. Anything you think you want to get and stock up on, you could write down, but you don't need to actually highlight yet. Only highlight things that you have to get this shop. And the wants are going to be optional extras. So the next 3 steps all happen at the supermarket. So first of all, putting just the needs in your basket and keeping a rough mental total of how much it comes to. See what's left in your budget for the week. And then what I do then is I check out the reduced bit. And when I'm looking at the things, I'm thinking, is this something that's a need for this shop that I could swap? That's a real bonus when that happens. Or is this something I can freeze or store and use it for a future meal when I do my next meal planning? So this really applies a lot for protein, like the veggie sausages that I'm using this month. They were reduced, pack of 6 for 84p. So I grabbed 2 packets of them and I'd frozen them. So I knew I'd use them for future meal planning. So that's an example of that. Or buying reduced price bread for 10p, splitting it and freezing it. Because then it's always a really handy standby to have. So once I've checked out the reduced bit, if I have money left in the budget then, and only then, is when I'll start adding in once and just keeping a kind of mental check on how much money's left so I don't go over. And this helps me avoid impulse buying and being tempted by the snack aisles and the beers and stuff. But they're wants, so I will have them listed in my wants sometimes if I kind of plan for them. So there's a treat of the week. Again, like I'd said in a recent video about frugal fatigue, it helps to stay on track and not feel deprived and then not splurge. So that's those 3 steps. And now we're on to the very final step. Last of all is making sure that the fresh food especially is prepared and stored in a way that it's not going to waste, because it's such a shame if things go off and they have to be thrown out, plus it's not good for your budget either. So I try and, again, I'll stick some tunes on or a podcast or something to kind of motivate myself. I try and get onto it as early as possible when I've got my shopping, is chopping and freezing stuff that I know is going to spoil, storing things appropriately so that I know they're going to last. So there you have it. That is the 12 steps that I take when I'm meal planning to set myself up for success as much as possible, to stay on track and have a frugal month. I'm going to show you now a summary of all the steps, and also I'm going to say thank you very much for staying and watching the whole thing. It's so great to have you here and sharing this frugal journey with you. So sending best wishes and thanks again. Take care. See you next time. Bye.